This is class 11, chapter 27, Hyperbola. Hyperbola, we have discussed what is hyperbola, and then we tried to understand how do we derive this equation, and I gave you a glimpse of various elements of parabola. We are going to see them in detail now. Hyperbola, most of the things are equivalent to ellipse. This is the equation we have already derived. Even if you don't follow that derivation, you have not watched it, the important elements consist of vertices. Vertices because one is vertex and multiple is vertices. So you see these 2 points. Actually, we have made 2 cups. These are 2 parabolas. And this shape is called the hyperbola. So when we bind it with axis, coordinate axis, we say x-axis and y-axis, these 2 points where this curve intersect on the x-axis or the y-axis, these 2 points are called as the vertices, So we have this plus minus a comma 0. From here to here, it's 2a. If you remember, when we talked about ellipse. So in ellipse, we said that we have a coordinate axis from here to here, this is the major axis. Minor axis will also be there. So this is the minor axis. Here we will a bit change from here to here, from A to A dash. In this case, A dash A, if you see the rightmost figure, I am talking about transverse and conjugate. This A dash A is the transverse axis, and what is the length? 2a. From here to here, a on either side, 2a. When we make a perpendicular, that is actually here we are talking about y-axis, and we mark a point which is of length b and b dash. Since C this is, so let us mark it here also, b and b dash. This CB and CB dash, these are going to be equal to B. Similar, I am just equating it with the ellipse. In ellipse also we have minor axis, semi-minor axis. So here we have 2B. A line which is perpendicular to transverse is called as conjugate axis. I'll tell you why it is called as conjugate in the later just now. So in every hyperbolic, parabolic or ellipse, they will have a focus. In physics terms, whenever a light from infinity is coming, it is going to converge at the focus. So this focus, there are 2 foci. I proved it in the previous discussion that this point focus, if the 0, 0 is the center, this focus F1 and there are 2 focus actually. So the focus, because it is 2, I call it as foci or foci. There are 2 of them. So that is why if we want to point out the coordinate, it's c comma 0, but c I prove it to be ae comma 0. Similarly on the left side it will be minus ae comma 0. So let us combine them, plus minus ae comma 0. And now coming to the directrix. Now if you remember directrix, any point you take, the distance of this point from the directrix, and any point distance of this point from the directrix and same point distance with the focus, the ratio is going to be eccentricity. So this directrix, we proved it in the earlier discussion, it to be a by e, that is, it is a by e far away from the center or y-axis. So the equation of directrix will be plus minus ae comma 0. I am taking either side together, I am combining them. There is one more thing, center. Right now it's 0, 0, but it will be hk when we see the questions. Eccentricity. How do we find out the eccentricity of hyperbola? Eccentricity eccentricity represented by E. See, this equation is in front of you. X square by a square minus y square by b square equals 1. And in this equation, I told you when I actually derived this equation, I told you b square equals a square, e square minus 1, if you remember. So if we are interested in e square, what are we going to do? E square will be, you take a square in the denominator for b square. So e square minus 1 will be equal to b square by a square, e square minus 1. And then e squared will be 1 plus b square by a square. And e square, you don't have to do this, I'm just doing it, but e square will be equal to, and this b square by a square, I'm taking it. Let us multiply 4 in the numerator, 4 in the denominator. That is b square by a square, multiply it by 4, denominator also by 4. So now you get 4b square by 4a square. Now you can write it as 2b whole square and 2a whole square. This 2b is what? As I just suggested, 2b is the conjugate axis by the 2a's transverse axis. So under root 1 plus ca square ta square is the eccentricity. 1 plus conjugate axis whole square divided by transverse axis whole square. Now coming to a very important question wise, it's latest rectum. Latest rectum. We have talked about this in the ellipse also. Any line which is passing through the focus and parallel to the y-axis in this case. So if I make a line, this line is latest rectum and the length of this line is the length of the latest rectum. So you already have a formula. How to find out this point? From center or origin to this, we know that x coordinate is what? AE, because I am talking about focus at this point. This line is passing through focus. AE. I don't know the y-axis, y point. So let us say it is SL with respect to this figure. So I have x coordinate as AE and SL is the y point. But I know that this point is passing or is in on the hyperbola. So I can just put it here in the place of x and y. A whole square by a square minus SL whole square by b square equals 1. So we have SL square equals, just I'm rearranging it, S square equals b square e square minus 1. When we have e square minus 1, we know that b square minus 1 can be written as b square by a square. I can always write that. So in place of e square minus 1, I am replacing it with the b square by a square. Okay. After rearranging, whatever I got, I am writing b square by a square here. So this becomes b to the power 4, b raised 4 by a square. Okay. Now in order to find out this SL, which is the y-axis coordinate of the point we have taken, it will be under root, so b square by a. So the distance of from the focus to the point of intersection on the parabola is b square by a. Similarly in the lower part it's b square by a. So you add them or multiply it by 2, you will get 2b square by a. This is the latest rectum. Same is for ellipse, same is for the hyperbola also. Now one more thing I would like to find it here is focal distances. What are the focal distances? Take any point on the parabola. The distance of this point from the two focus or foci is the focal distance. If I take any point P, you have S and S dash. So if just keep it this mind, because I am going to give you the final result. So this distances, say you have S dash P, assume it to be D1, the distance D2 which is SP is SP, that is D1 minus D2. And I told you earlier, if you followed me, that the difference of distance of this point from the two foci will always be a constant, and that is the definition of an hyperbola, and that is equal to 2a. That is equal to 2a. So this direct expression you are going to use in the question. This is actually equal to transverse axis. Now let me take you to the conjugate parabola, which is a kind of vertical ellipse equivalent. So this conjugate means what? Let me take you back to complex numbers. If you remember a plus ib, this a plus ib, what is the conjugate of a plus ib? If you remember, it's a minus ib. The conjugate of a plus ib is a minus b. Same concept we can apply it here. We have the equation x square by a square minus y square by b square equals 1. And this is for the horizontal or transverse hyperbola. Transverse hyperbola. What is the conjugate? Multiply it by minus. Multiply it with a negative. So what do you get? X square minus x square by a square plus y square by b square equals 1. Now just change the places. Y square by b square minus x square by a square equals 1. And this is the equation of the conjugate hyperbola. Conjugate hyperbola. So you have x square by a square minus y square by b square. You keep a square b square where they are. Just replace x square and y square. You are going to get the equation of the conjugate hyperbola. Let me tell you, the eccentricity is somewhat changed here. A square equals b square e squared minus 1. What is the latest term? It's not 2b square by a, it's 2a square by b. It's not 2b square by a, it's 2a square by b. So there are two changes which need to be emphasized here. Eccentricity and latest term for the horizontal or conjugate hyperbola. Other things I already told you when we discussed earlier, like the vertices here is again 0 comma plus minus a because it is on the y-axis, so x remains 0, y is plus minus a. How about the focus or foci? It's 0 comma plus minus ae. Okay, and eccentricity I already told you, latest rectum we have done, and this is the equation you need to keep in your mind. One more thing, just one, that if it is not center 0 0, how about an ellipse with not this not having the center at 0 0, then it is some hk, some point which is not 0 0. How are you going to write the equation? X minus h whole square, x minus h whole square by a square minus y minus b whole, y minus k whole square by b square equals 1. This is all about the hyperbola. Okay, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.